once we get going, I'll try not to
It,
shake it too
oh.
much.
It is the ATB show at the buzzer. Rubber shoes in beautiful downtown LA studios. And it is me, yours truly, Adam in Connecticut. It is our special Iowa caucus edition of the ATB show. Rubber shoes. Why don't you start? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're not weighing in on the Iowa caucuses. Although I'm sure we'd have plenty to say about it, but we're not going to talk about it tonight. We are going to talk about sports, of course, and we are all. It's all brought to you by AAA Work Trucks. Rubber shoes. Give us the lowdown on that, please.
Yes, AAA Work Trucks, your one-stop shop for all your work truck needs. If it goes in or on a vehicle, it's a good bet. AAA can take care of it for you. Give them a call at 866-783-6222 or check them out online at aaaworktrucks.com.
I feel like sometimes you do that in your sleep. Is this true? Do you roll
Yeah.
over and Steph is like, "Shut up! I heard about AAA Work Trucks." um. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about. Of course, last week we were, going on and on about how I'm sure a shoe will drop on the Patriots drama right after we hit the stop button on the show, and sure enough, not quite right after, but just pretty quickly thereafter, the next morning,
Yeah.
the shoe dropped on
Yeah, that
Belichick.
was a
So
weird at like 7:07 the next morning. It was weird.
yeah,
A weird
yeah.
time.
Well, it always happens to us. We always joke that if it's 6 o'clock, if we're actually recording at our normal time, which is Wednesday at 5 p.m., it almost always happens that the big news breaks at like 6:02 p.m. But
Yeah.
they waited less than 24 hours, but still it was still right around the time that we were doing it. So Belichick is no more, and I think it makes sense to. I know there's been a lot of this, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on it. But maybe it makes sense to talk about your like a favorite memory that you have of Belichick, or a favorite moment during the Patriots dynasty, just to kind of put a bow on his. Now Brady's gone, Belichick's gone. I mean, there's not really many people left from those dynasty teams, and I think it's important to talk
Actually,
about.
I think Matthew Slater is the last, and he's probably retiring after this year.
Right, right. I think you're right, because Mayo didn't win a Super Bowl with the Pats.
Well, he's not a player, so
Yeah, but
I mean,
but
he
Belichick's not a
might. I
player
think
either.
he might have been a coach for the last one,
Oh, maybe. Right, not as a player, he didn't
and
win one.
his kids, and uh, we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
the
So start
yeah,
with a memory that you have of Belichick, and I know you're happy to have seen it, to see him go in some ways.
so yeah, so I know I'm just ready to move on and start the next thing because it he's not going to be here. Even if he stayed, he's not going to be here for more than 2-3 more seasons,
Sure.
and they were going to move on for him. And when you had a bad season like they did, it's it's a good time to move on. I
Hmm.
feel that's the way I've been looking at it. Is like, okay, time to turn the page. And so I'm trying to think of a memory for him. It's hard to specific for him. Like there's so many things that were because of him. Like, in the first Super Bowl they won, when John Madden saying, "Oh, they should take a knee and go into
Right.
overtime," but it's his decision to play on and go for the win right then and there. So I guess that it's not something you see him actually do, but it's his call. And I would say that's probably for me the biggest thing because that was the beginning of the dynasty right there. Them going and beating St. Louis, and I that that night I when they won, it was so unbelievable. It took some time to be like, we really won. It was so out of left field them even being in the
Right.
Super Bowl that year, and then for them to actually beat St. Louis, who was the greatest show on turf. Just amazing. That's what me. I'm a Red Sox fan first out of all my sports fandom.
Hmm.
So them winning the World Series in '04 is my biggest moment in my life, other than my wedding and my son's birth and
Good
stuff
call.
like that.
Good call. Yes.
Sports memory, that's my number one, is the Red Sox winning. That the Patriots winning is probably number two.
Okay. It's funny that you mentioned that first one. I mean, that's kind of it's a good. It started the dynasty. It really started this City of Champions thing too. If you think about it, it was the first time since the '80s that any of our teams had won anything.
Yep.
And then it was this string of just like 10 in a row things that just happened over and over again. Um, I remember that Super Bowl so distinctly because it was way before you had these giant, TV. Everybody had a giant TV on their wall. I had one of the, it was actually still in college. It was my first apartment ever. And I had one of these little, tube TVs that I was watching it on. And to just even think back to the fact that I would watch it and enjoy it on that TV is
Yeah.
actually kind of crazy. And the fact that that feels like it was almost just yesterday. I know it was 25 years ago, but it feels like it was just yesterday. Is pretty crazy. But there's so many decisions that he made along the way, kind of like that. Like even the decision to stick with Brady when everybody under the sun wanted him
Yeah.
to go with Bledsoe,
And
and
I
it
I was a Bella. I mean, I was a Bledsoe guy,
yeah,
definitely.
and he was like, nope, I'm doing what's best for the team. I don't care that the ownership just paid this guy $100 million. I think this guy's the guy to win, that I'll win with, and he went with him, and it's
Yeah.
it's crazy to even like it seems like a no brainer now because of what Brady became and what they became together, but at the time, most people were definitely against it, and so I think that's a big decision that he made. The other one that I was thinking of just quickly was in the Seattle Super Bowl. And I'm not the first one to mention this, of course, but when he chose not to call a timeout and to make basically freak out Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks um, uh, with a minute left to go. I mean, talk about bucking the trends of what the NFL was doing at the time and still is doing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
conventional wisdom is your opponent is about to score and you have a minute left and you're going to fall behind. You call timeout so you have the time to go try and put a field goal up, and he was just like, it looks like they're confused over there. I'm gonna hold tight and keep my timeouts. And sure enough, I mean, it turned into the Malcolm Butler catch. So,
Yeah.
anybody that makes this argument was Brady or it's Belichick, it's hard to say one way or the other. I mean, Brady was a huge piece of it, but Belichick had his moments, and
Oh yeah,
that was
it
one of those moments too. So,
it definitely I mean, when Brady left, was in his camp. Well, I mean, I was still a Patriots fan too, so it
yeah,
wasn't like I totally abandoned the Patriots, but I thought he made some bad decisions as the general manager or whatever his title was to the player personnel decisions. He wanted to move. They were talking about this on some of the radio stations. Is Belichick wanted to move away from Brady in 2010. Do you
wow,
imagine?
wow, is that right?
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
um but I think that's what he slipped in most. I think he still had the tools, but also not only the players that he was bringing in, but a lot of the coaches he was bringing in. He brought people in that made him feel comfortable, even the
Yeah.
people in the general. So I think he stopped. That's where I think he lost it. Is he'd rather surround himself with people he knows instead of maybe better coaches. Bringing in a better coach. It was all people he was familiar with.
Mm.
Or that his you know that friends of his said, "Oh yeah, this is a good guy. This guy is a good fit for you." That's where I think he lost. And so, yes, I wanted them to make the move. They made the move. Now I don't know what the hell the Crafts are doing.
Oh. Oh, you're anti Gerard Mayo?
Oh
I can't wait
no,
to hear this.
so I'm not. We really didn't have a choice unless they bought him out. They had a speculation. They had something written in his contract that when
Right.
Belichick left, he took over. So I'm not really. I would have rather have someone that had experience first. Maybe have my scenario was have Variable come in as the head coach, move up Gerard Mayo to the defensive coordinator, have Billy O'Brien or Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator, let Mayo get a little more experience at that. And so that one thing I think he's going to have trouble with is bringing in coaches to fill in for him because he only has been around Belichick and the coaches on that staff. So I kind of wanted them to move on, kind of clean house and and build a new product, but pretty much they it looks like they're staying pat with everything else. The general manager, they're saying it's gonna, it could be the two guys that were already making those decisions. Although Belichick had final say,
Yeah.
now he doesn't. So maybe they didn't agree with decisions that Belichick made. Maybe Crafts know this, so that's why they're doing this. But I'm a little worried.
So the thing that's kind of interesting about the whole situation, right, is they had this succession plan put in place with Mayo so that when it was time for to move on from Belichick, like he would be, he would ascend to the coach's chair. And of course, I hear what you're saying about experience. And the interesting thing is that not many people could have predicted that in the year that Belichick left the Patriots, you'd have Harbaugh available. You'd have Vrabel available. I mean, nobody thinks Pete Carroll would come here, but Pete
Yeah,
Carroll's available. So you have this sort of these giants of coaching that a lot of people would want to hire, right? I mean,
yeah,
maybe the Patriots, maybe not, but a lot of people would want to hire. And so you hamstrung yourself because you put this succession plan in place. Now,
yes,
maybe you do your due diligence. Maybe you don't put the succession plan in place. Maybe you do your due diligence and you still land on Gerard Mayo. Maybe
right,
that's the case. But the fact that like a day later they came out and were like, "Here's our guy,"
yep,
um, it makes me a little bit nervous. But I will say that I have, actually weirdly have like watched a lot of film on Gerard Mayo, not his coaching, but like his private sector work. After he got out of playing, he went and worked. I think he worked for Comcast for a while, but he was like a bigwig in Comcast. He
uh-huh,
was like a VP, and supposedly the guy is like people will just follow him through a brick wall. And so, to me, that's a invaluable quality in a coach. Now, whether that translates to the NFL, I don't know. He's obviously shown that he's a good, linebackers coach. I think he obviously was a very good linebacker for us, and the Crafts really like him. I mean, I think that's a big piece of this too, right? Of course, they like Vrabel too, so it is a little.
yeah.
If they didn't have that succession plan in place, I just feel like they would have given themselves options. Um, but the guy, the Crafts are one thing, and they are loyal, and
It,
so they really like Mayo, and so they gave him the chance, and I just will ride with him. The one thing that you said about bringing along other coaches, it's been kind of widely reported now that the Belichick sons will stay on
well,
with the
so
Patriots.
they off Mayo offered them contracts to stay. If
Yeah.
if Bill Belichick goes somewhere else, I'm pretty sure he's taking his kids with him.
Oh, you think? Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's my feeling on that is that like he did the I think they were doing the right thing by offering them contracts. Like they didn't
Yeah.
accept anything yet. I think that they're probably gonna go with their dad.
All right. Well, that may be true. I don't even know how old they are. Do you know how old they are? I mean, are they in their
No,
30s?
I'd say they're in their 30s.
Gotta be, right? If he's 72.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that, not that you can't have kids as a little bit older, but,
Yeah, and I
um,
mean, I really like Mayo, and so I was watching. He used to be on the show Quick Slants on
oh yeah.
NBC
Yep.
Sport, and so they did like a highlight package of him on there. He's a very personable guy and very funny. So I hope we get a little more from our press conferences going forward. So that'll be a little better, and the media will not have to go and sit and just hear, yeah, I'm moving on to Cincinnati, you
Right.
know
Right.
that stuff. So
I'm such a
um,
sap. Like I get into the YouTube wormholes, and I clicked on one Belichick thing today, and it was all of a sudden I was in like a million different highlights or highlights of his press conferences,
yeah,
and it was like one after another, on to Cincinnati, on to
yeah,
Philadelphia, whatever it was. But I came across one where he was talking to. You might have seen the clip because it's actually floated around quite a bit, but where I think he's talking to Mayo, and he's talking about Mayo buying a truck And he's like, "Did I hear you're buying another truck?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to buy another truck." And he goes, Belichick goes, "Can I give you a Volvo?" I thought it was kind of funny. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's been 24 years of the driest
Yeah.
possible coach of all time, right? I mean, and
And
that
and
worked for quite a long time,
and the thing is that he's not like that. Like
right?
when you see him on the stuff that he's done through NFL Network, he's very, I mean, he's extremely knowledgeable, and he is personable. He's funny. And that's what the all the players and coaches that will do anything for him have seen,
Right.
and we just don't get to see it that much. So,
Yeah. Maybe
um,
maybe we will once he's
so
fully retired and he
I'm
comes
I'm
back.
a little worried about the Patriots going forward. I'm already depressed for my summer.
Oh, oh
It's like
God.
this is so the Red Sox have their winter weekend out in Springfield at the MGM
Yeah.
casino. So they did it last year, and
Are
last
you
year they
going
had a
to it?
no.
Oh,
They did it last year. They had a town hall, and
yeah.
they got booed when they came walking out.
I
This
remember
year
that.
that
Yeah.
they're not even doing it this year. They've already
Oh,
and they there is so much coming out that they've already, you know, given up reduced salary already, and reports are coming out that they're gonna do even more. And basically the team you have is what we're gonna have going forward. And they haven't done anything to improve the team.
what? Honestly, like you know a lot more about this than I do. So I do. I want to ask you. What happened to this team?
Uh,
Because
it's
when John Henry took over, they would spend money. They did upgrades to Fenway. They did all sorts of stuff, and now all of a sudden it's like we're the bottom of the barrel. I mean, Tampa Bay is
I
spending more money than us.
right. I keep waiting to hear that they're gonna be selling the team, because a lot of times what happens when teams are sold, there's always a lot of salary dumps
Yeah,
before they sell the team. That's what I keep waiting for, because they have totally gone opposite of how they've operated up till, their last championship.
hmm
And
yeah, it's
it
crazy.
it even when they've had bad teams in the past, like in the 80s, and the all those years that we're chasing trying to win championships,
Right.
you had hope going into the season because they had like star players that you could at least get behind and see where possibly there's a way that they could be a good team.
Yeah.
The stuff they're doing now, it's like, okay, we hope that all these young players that we have all become all stars all in the same time.
Right.
But and their pitching staff, and I don't know what they're doing.
I
You know,
mean, even in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, you just had players who you felt like you said you felt good about.
yeah,
Like you felt like, okay, well, we're going to be competitive. Are we going to win this World Series? No. Yes, maybe or no, but we're going to definitely be competitive. And
yeah,
honestly, especially with baseball, it's such a long season that it's so depressing to start the season and feel like
with
we're
no
not even
hope.
going to be
Yeah.
competitive. Yeah, it's just so
And,
depressing.
I mean, their only star on the team is Devers. Brian Bayo is getting there. He's still probably, I mean, maybe he surprises me and makes a huge jump this year, but I think he's probably 2-3 seasons away to becoming their ace of the staff,
Right.
and becoming, a guy you put on there on, on the programs. But I mean, they'll probably force it, this year, just because there's no one else. They'll have Mayo and Devers on the cover.
And the
It's
problem is too this year. The problem is that other teams haven't stopped. Right. Haven't stopped
Oh, the
adding.
Dodgers are
Oh, they're loaded.
off the
And
charts.
yeah, and even the Yankees are spending money too, and it's like it's really they honestly like I hope that you're right and that eventually they sell the team like in the very near future so
Yeah,
we can at least go, "Oh, okay, now we see why they were treating the offseason this way. That now that we
yeah.
see why they were dumping salaries because if they're not, it's just a horrible way to run a team. Like you're not even trying. At least that's what it feels
Yeah,
like.
it right. It even the small market teams, small market teams, you can understand why they do certain things
Yeah.
because they have to be really careful with their money that and they end up having, I mean Tampa Bay, they get rid so they got rid of their best pitcher I think 2 seasons in a row, or maybe it was a couple seasons. So Blake Snell left there, and they had Tyler Glasnow. Now Tyler Glasnow's gone, and who's going to be next? They just keep it. It always seems like they get rid of these players, and they got people to come right in. Their farm system is just unbelievable. They always have another guy ready to go. We don't have that.
Yeah.
We're they're so we have Casas is up. He's probably their next best player. That's going to be, he played this past year most of the season, and I mean, then their next guy is probably he's going to be starting in Double A this year.
Yeah. It's sad. It's just
Yeah,
really sad from where they came from to where we are now. It's depressing, and I'm proud of you for wearing your gear today. Even though,
I it's very hard for me
yeah.
to I've never the last off season and this off season I've never been. Oh, someone
Oh,
came to say hi and step on the keyboard. What's up, kitty?
rub a kitty.
What are you
What were you
doing?
saying?
I've never had 2 off seasons where you go in with no hope.
No hope.
Like
Yeah.
they finished in last place 2 seasons in a row and did nothing in the off season to make you think that they were going to be any better. And
Yeah. It's crazy.
this is going to be 3 seasons in a row that you're like, they had a couple, they were had some winning streaks this last season, and where you got I got a little hope. It's like, okay, if Sale comes back and he was pitching decent when he got hurt. If he comes back and it comes back to that form, I could see them making a run, and then it's just there's too much that has to go right.
Yeah.
You don't have any wiggle room like the Dodgers have. But we also have seen it doesn't matter. You can spend the most. And I mean, the Yankees did it for so long and never
Oh yeah.
won. And, the Dodgers did it last year. They didn't win. They're doing it again this year, hoping to change it.
Oh, I can't even. Well, I can't imagine what it's like to be a Dodgers fan because we were that for a long while when we were invested. Really did anything, but um, we. Oh, my microphone just changed. That was weird, right?
Yeah. Like,
Okay. Um, but anyways, so rubber shoes. I'm gonna fix this, and I'm gonna have you start talking about this. Oh my god, the Celtics. Um, we are in a hot streak right now. So tell me what you think about the Celtics and what they've been up to.
well, the winning streak at home has been great.
Yeah.
They where they beat Minnesota, although the game the next night was awful. And I'm I understand why they didn't start any of the starters in the second half, but as a fan, when you see your team just give up like that, I, I hate it. I was hoping to
Yeah.
see that, maybe have them come out, see if they can make a little run in the first, 5-10 minutes of the third quarter, and then, fourth quarter, sit them all. But to not even come out and try the second half, it was very uh deflating. I know they're still, I don't know if they're the best record still.
Yeah,
They're
it's still the best record. Yeah, they're
so
they're they're like 2.5 games ahead of Minnesota for the best record in the league.
okay. And in the long run, all I want them to do is be healthy for the playoffs. I think they are the best team in the league. I would like to see them add a little depth because right now they're if they were playing the playoffs right now, it's pretty much your starting five: Horford, Pritchard, Hauser, and Cornette. Cornette, he plays decent, but I think I want someone else there also, and I wouldn't mind having another shooter. Coming off the if Pritchard or Hauser aren't on fire, I'd like to have another guy to be able to worry if they're not hot.
Yeah. Well, here's okay. So just to back up to the Milwaukee game, because there was a lot of discussion about whether they should have brought the starters back in the third quarter, and I'm with you generally speaking about. I wish they had put up a little bit of a fight. And some people were saying that you know the starters made the mess that they were in. They should have at least been given an opportunity or said this is your responsibility. Go try and fix it.
Yeah.
My take on it is a little bit different because of the stretch of the season that they're in, right? If this was like mid-December and they were playing a game every 3 nights and they were playing sort of a soft part of their schedule and um I'd be like, yeah, put them out there. Make them deal with the fact that they're down 30, right? Um but they were, I think it was like their sixth game in 7 nights. No, it wasn't sixth game in 7 nights. It was like sixth game in like 8 or 9 nights. They had just
Yeah,
played that incredible overtime game against Minnesota, which was one of the best games, period, whether they won or lost. It was one of the best games of the season by far. And so I kind of felt like, all right, I think they needed the rest. And I kind of appreciated what they did. I know from a fan's perspective, and me, I wanted to see them play. I wanted a chance for them to come back, but I was kind of like, all right, well, if you're not going to put your starters out there to try and come back, I'm going to shut the game off, right? And I thought that was okay. Like I'm not throwing them a parade for it, but I thought it was okay. I was disappointed, but I was like, all right, I understand what we're doing here. But then for them to bounce back from that game, because what made me nervous is that they were going to fall into a deep funk
yeah,
because that was just like a disaster of a game, and all of a sudden their confidence was going to be shaken and everything. The fact, and I know they were playing Houston, and then they came out and beat who did they play the other night? Houston, and then there was one other team that they just played. Oh, Toronto. Toronto.
oh
They
yeah,
came out and played Houston and Toronto, and played really good games in both of those games. So I feel like okay, we've bounced back from it. That's good. Um, I think that they have proven over and over again that they are much different than they were last year. They've played some of these games that they would have lost last year. They've won this year.
yeah,
They hang tough in all of the games except for with the Milwaukee game as the exception. And I think we're so well positioned, and that I don't know if it's Missoula or if it's the training staff or whoever it is, but they're managing minutes for everybody so well that I think, knock on wood, I hope that we will get to the playoffs and we'll be healthy. If we are, I don't see a team right now that can beat us. Now that being said, we've got still got a stretch ahead. I mean, we've got the Spurs, but that'll be hopefully an easy win, and then we've got the Nuggets coming into town, and then a week later the Clippers come into town. So those could be some rocky games. Hopefully we hold our own, but they potentially could be rocky games. So um, I think where we are now is good. I'm hoping that we keep the streak alive. I mean, the win streak at home is so fun, but so nerve wracking at the same time.
yeah. The longer it goes, yeah, you don't want them to lose it.
Oh, it's like awful.
So
Like,
I mean, the thing that one I bitched about it since we've been doing the show is the scheduling.
yeah,
What so they played back to back. So the Friday I went to the game. They played Utah that Friday night. Then they played Indiana the next day. Then they played Minnesota, and then they played Milwaukee the next day. They average probably, I think the average is like 3.5 games a week that they
yeah,
play. There is no, unless they come and tell me why there's a reason that they do this. In my mind, there is no reason why there should ever be back to back games, especially have a game at home and then travel somewhere and play the next night. It's
right,
it's unbelievable. And Adam Silver should be like, okay, if we space these out, we're gonna get more of our stars playing more nights. Because that's the reason why these guys, because when we play these back to back nights, we may have our a full cast one night, but definitely someone sitting out the next night.
Right. Well,
And
you
if
always have either Horford out or Porzingis out
and
usually.
Brown didn't play the last game.
Right, right. I agree with you. You ran down their schedule. You missed they had like a home and home, not a home and home. They had two games against the Pacers in Indiana,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is a
So
that those are always weird schedules. I guess that's
yeah,
a remnant of COVID or something. I don't know, but um, the scheduling is so horrible, and especially like you look at that Milwaukee game. Milwaukee had been off since Monday. They had been
right.
off for like
Yeah,
3 days.
it's just doesn't make any sense to me.
And if if you're Adam Silver, do you want that to happen? No, you want the Milwaukee Boston game to be a
Right.
blockbuster game. You
Yes.
don't want it to be a blowout.
And it was on. I mean, it's pretty bad when your marquee game is on TNT and
Right.
you end up showing another game
Yeah.
at the end of it instead of playing the game that you were hyping up because you made them play back to back nights, travel, and it's just dumb.
I mean, I would think it was dumb even if it wasn't my team. I just think the
Yeah, it
scheduling is dumb, period. I don't know why they do it that way. And I've never heard an answer. The
right.
NBA doesn't even seem to think that it's a problem, I guess.
Well, they get mad when the stars don't play like so when a West Coast team comes to Boston, they only play once a year.
Right.
So you go to see the Golden State game. You want to see Curry, you want to see Thompson, and you go there and one of them sitting out because they just played the night before and had to travel in, and they're just getting guys rest.
Yeah.
It's and they don't want that, but they're sending them up. It's like, what else are they supposed to do?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind the back to backs too much, but at the same time, these ones where it's like I don't mind if it's a back to back and they're in Boston and they have two games back to back.
Yeah,
The ones where it's Boston and then they got to travel to Milwaukee or they got to travel to
yeah,
Indiana
those
or
make
whatever.
absolutely no sense.
No sense whatsoever. I
That was
mean,
twice in that same week. They were home
right,
and traveled away
right.
for the next game.
So
Yeah,
even if they had done Utah, right, the night you went was what is it, Friday? Was it a
yep,
Friday night game? Yeah. So if they had done Utah, then giving them a day off, give them the Saturday and then do a Sunday Monday back to back in Indiana.
right.
Why not do that? Like
That
at
makes
least they
more
get a break.
sense. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because
I
usually when they go on the West Coast trip, they'll usually do back to back, Lakers,
right.
Clippers back to back days, and it's like you're right there. They're not going anywhere. That's fine.
Yeah. What are you thinking about the All-Star game? You think I mean Tatum's a shoe-in. I don't think there's any debate about that, but the other four guys, Holiday and Porzingis and White and Brown are all in the top 10 voting in their respective positions. You think more than one Celtic makes the team?
Uh, um, it's so hard because I don't know how many they actually bring to the All Star game for each side. Do you
I think it's
know?
like 15, I think.
15.
I think so. Maybe it might be 12. I'm not sure.
I mean, I really think Derek White deserves it, but it'll be hard for him to, I think, get it over. You know, he's having a better season than probably most of the so-called stars that will probably go there just because of their name.
Right.
It's kind of amazing that Derek White is in there because other than in Boston, I don't think there's many fans in the NBA that know about him and know how well he's playing. You
Yeah.
know,
It's interesting though because he's like the player that all the other players love, right? You hear
yep.
anybody else talking about like not the analysts or anything, but you hear any other players and they rave about Derek
Oh
White,
yeah,
Derek
yep.
White, Derek White. So he's an interesting case. I mean, obviously I'm a homer. I would like to see all five of them make it. That's obviously not going to happen, but I couldn't even bring myself to choose between Derek White and Jalen Brown. And honestly, Porzingis is a dark horse in my opinion, but he deserves some notice. Um, you know, why
I
I
tell
don't
you, watching him every night is amazes me how good a player he is.
same.
It's like I just thought he was a big guy that could handle the ball and shoot from outside. he is a really good passer. He's
Yep.
really good in the post, and he gets that matchup all the time. Like they switch out on him. He's up against a smaller guy in the paint, just turns around and just he's. I really I really like him. I have a lot more appreciation of him now that he's on our team and we get to see him every night.
The only team that's actually given him much trouble is actually Toronto. Believe it or weirdly enough, they he seemed to. I think he still put up like 18 or 20 the other night, but
Yeah, it
it was a
was
hard 18 to 20. It wasn't
so
like his
yeah,
usual
it was weird.
easy
It
game.
so Holiday and White scored 20, both had 22. Tatum had 19. I think Porzingis 17.
That might be it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean all five starters had double digits.
But Porzingis was like it was a slog to score. I mean, he went to
Yeah.
the line a lot, and I don't know if it was just that they had bigger guy, bigger bodies, not necessarily taller guys, but bigger, stronger guys that could body him up a little bit. I'm not really sure what it was. I couldn't really tell why he was being knocked
Tell you
off his
that
spot so easily.
that center for Houston was
Oh, Shangun.
kind of impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shangun is a good player, man. Him and when we played Wemby, I know everybody's like Wemby, 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 but did you see? I don't want to go too deep into this, but did you see when the Hawks were playing the Spurs? Did you see any of that game?
No.
The Hawks were up by 35 points, and the Spurs came back to get within four. They didn't win, but Wemby had a monster second half, and the dude's a freak. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy what he can do. It's just unbelievable. And they're coming into town, I think tomorrow night, so
Yep.
we'll
Yep.
get a chance to see them. And they're not a good team, but they definitely put up a fight. So we got to be careful. We almost lost to the freaking Pistons. So let's be real.
Yeah.
Anybody could get us on
But
shaky
you
ground
know
one
what?
night.
The that losing streak the Pistons had, I was shocked that they
Yeah,
had
they're a
that
decent
long.
team.
They have some good players.
Yeah,
Ivy and Cunningham are really good players, and I was shocked that they had that. When when I heard about that, when they were starting to get to 20, I'm like, is Cunningham out? Are
right.
their guys
Right, right.
hurt? Is that why
Yeah.
they're? And Tyler was like, no, they played all season. I'm like, like that's kind of strange.
Yeah, and they just got a brand new coach. I mean, I don't know if the Pistons are because of the system that he put in place and maybe they're just getting comfortable with it. They seem to have righted the ship a little bit here.
Yep.
Anyways. All right, Rubber Shoes, what's your take? You think that the home streak continues even with Denver coming to town, or do you think we drop one here?
I I mean, I'd have to look at the schedule and see, do we have back to backs and the Celtics. Another one that really bugs me is when they have a visiting team in Boston waiting for the Celtics to come back from being on the
Right.
road. Is it that
So we have
gets
San Antonio tomorrow night, and then on
yeah.
Friday night we have Denver. So it's
Well,
not
I
a back
think
to back.
I think I like our chances.
Okay, and then let's see, and then we go to Houston. So it's funny because it's almost. I mean, I want the streak to continue, but it's almost like I am much less stressed when we go on the road. I'm like, well, if we lose on the road, it's no big deal. But I really want to
That
win at home.
I mean, that's another thing with what was disappointing about the Milwaukee game was like those are the big games you want to see them testing, how they're playing for the playoffs,
Yeah,
and against Denver, it's going to be like, oh, we could see them in the finals. So, but I have a feeling someone from Denver's not going to play.
probably.
That's what happens. Is like we never have two full teams play against each other.
Yeah, I was just looking to see. They're not on a back to back Denver. I don't think. Let's see. Uh, Denver, 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 Denver. No, Denver is not. They are off Wednesday. They're off Thursday, and they play us Friday. So
All
they
right,
actually have a
so
couple of days. They're coming off a rest. So I
okay,
mean, travel and rest.
I would like to see how both teams play against each other, and
Yeah,
I
it'll be
think
interesting.
like we've been saying, if they're healthy, the Celtics look to be the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a blowout against the Spurs so that we can rest our guys in the fourth quarter, and then they get a day off in between that game and the Denver game. All right, rubber shoes. Before we get going, we need to talk about the Bruins. The Bruins are still in first place, right?
Yeah.
And playing better, right?
Well, they won um on Monday, their Martin Luther King Day game,
Yep.
and they're they have a lot of injuries right now, so they're pretty deep in their bench. Like they have guys that have come up that I've never even heard of that are
Okay.
coming from pro. So they're but the goaltending is carrying them. Swayman, who made the All Star game, him and Pasternak made the All Star game team because the so NHL does it a little. They do the 3-on-3 tournament.
Oh,
So
okay.
each division. So there's four divisions. They each have a team, and so
Oh, that's interesting.
pretty much the only way you can have two players on a team is if you have the goalie and one other player.
Okay. All right.
Because there's so I think there's one from each team because there's and I think there's one wild card, so one team could get a second player from their team on the team.
Okay.
So it's hard to get multiple. The days of Bork and Neely and someone else all making the All Star team. Those days are
Do
over
you
unless
like
they.
that structure?
I do like it. It's
Yeah.
their the because it's like their overtime. It's three
Yeah.
on three. It's very fast paced. There's a lot of
That's
goals.
cool.
I don't think the goalies like it, but it's fun to watch, and I like how they play so three games that each so it'll be like the Atlantic division versus the Metro division, and then the Western. They play each other, and then the winners of those games play each other for the title or whatever they
Yeah.
call it.
Okay.
But I think it's pretty. They play pretty hard.
Is that coming up, the All-Star game?
It's usually a couple weeks before the NBA All Star,
Okay.
so it should be coming up soon.
All right.
That's good.
Um,
I haven't dug into it. Linus Ullmark left the game last week. He played the whole regular game, went into overtime, started the overtime period, and then got hurt. And then Swayman finished that, and Swayman's played every game since. So I don't know. I haven't seen that it's a long time out for Ullmark or not, but he did get injured last week.
oh, okay. Well, what do you think the second half of the season looks like for them? You think they continue the
It's
success that they've been having?
I mean this was when they lost Bergeron and Krejci. I was expecting them to fall back a little more, not be in first place at this point.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, I was shocked last year, and I think I'm almost as shocked this year that they're in the position they are. If if they can just stay healthy, that's the thing. Get healthy for the playoffs. They hopefully they have a better chance because they're not going. I don't think they're going to go for the best record. I don't think they have a chance to get the best record in the NHL this year. So I think they went for it too much to get the best record, and plus they were breaking records.
Yeah.
They had the most wins and the most points in franchise history, so they went for all of that stuff, and I think it cost them in the playoffs. Keep getting knocked out in the first round kind of
Yeah.
was very deflating.
It's like we're like the Dodgers of hockey, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to. You got to give yourself a shout out too. You probably won't do it, but I'll give you a shout out for playing. What was the name of the hockey game you played against some
Oh,
Bruins
so
legends?
yeah, it was so it was the Lowell Fire Department team played against the Bruins alumni. So the Bruins alumni team, and they came in. They told like they're very aggressive. They said, very aggressive as far as going out and playing lots of games and raising money. So
Hmm.
they had like they played like 3 or 4 games in the last week to raise
Okay.
money for stuff. So we played them on Sunday. It so on the team, Bergeron's on the team, Chara and Tuukka Rask, but none of them showed up for the game against us.
Ah, that sucks.
Um, so some of the names people would probably know: Stephen Leach was there, Steve Hines was there, Reggie Lemlin. I don't know if you're old enough to remember him. He was
Nope.
there. He was their goalie, late '80s, early
Oh,
'90s.
I mean, I guess the name sounds a little bit familiar, but
He
I wasn't following it.
Do you remember Andy Moog?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was the other goalie with them,
Oh, okay. All right.
Lemlin and Moog, and like the for a couple seasons they were kind of like how Allmark and Swayman are. They were 1A, 1B, basically.
Yeah.
You know, they were both really good. So he played out. He played defense. He didn't play goalie. Trying to think who else. Those are probably the biggest names of the people. Oh, and Bob Sweeney. Bob Sweeney is the president of the Bruins Foundation. So
Okay.
their alumni team, they raise money for their Bruins Foundation also, and he's big into that. So we do a tournament, um, fire basically first responders and military every
Okay.
year called the Heroes Cup, and it's put on by the Bruins Foundation. They run it. So I've seen
That's
Bob
amazing.
Sweeney. Bob Sweeney. I didn't like him as a player because I didn't root for the Bruins back then, but he's the nicest guy. Every time I've run into him at any of these events, he's the nicest guy. Very
Yeah.
and it was a blast. They killed us. It was, I think it was 9-3 was the final score.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Well, I mean, they're former professionals, so
yeah, and it's like they're playing like half speed,
yeah,
and
yeah.
but their passes are right on each other's stick every
Of
time,
course.
and their shots are just unbelievable. But it was a great time, and yeah, I
No,
got
no checking. No checking.
no. So I did. So I when I sent it to the text, I said that it was a shootout goal, but actually it was a penalty shot. I got a penalty shot. That's what I scored on.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
I think it's part of their thing because all of a sudden I'm out there and one of their players just bear hugs me and starts yelling to the ref, penalty shot, penalty shot. And I'm like, what is going on? And I turn around and the ref has his arm up calling a
Yeah.
penalty, and he calls the penalty and is like, penalty shot number 77. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God. So I was a little nervous at first, but I ended up scoring.
Was
It
this
was
this was at the Songus Arena?
yes, yep.
Oh, cool. All right. And was it a packed house or
No, it was,
no?
I don't know. There's probably, I'd say maybe 1,000 people in there.
That's pretty good.
It
It's
it
probably
holds like over 7,000. So
yeah. But that's probably the most people you've played in front of, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah, it was a
Congratulations on your
blast.
goal. That's
Yeah,
pretty
thank
awesome.
you.
And is there any way that people can donate or is it passed? Has that
It's already
passed?
passed, but
Okay, all right.
they're always doing games in areas. So I think we raised roughly probably around 9 grand
Oh, that's
going
amazing.
into the game, but they also had raffles going on during the game. So I don't know what the final total was, but they said they did a game out in Western Mass last week that they raised over 100 grand at the game.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
holy mackerel.
That's crazy. Well, I bet they
Yeah.
go back there next year.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm glad you participated in it, and it's a very cool story to be able to tell. Obviously, was Tyler there, or at least be able to share
No,
with him
nope, he
that he was
didn't
there?
go.
Yeah, but I'm sure he thought that was cool too. So, and the fact that you're still skating and playing hockey is amazing, and I tip my hat to you because I coach my daughter's basketball team and I barely take any shots, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm done.
I, I'm feeling it a little bit today because we played um 2 scrimmages last week because our team doesn't play much together.
Oh,
So
okay.
we played against the Boston Fire Department last week, which we played at the Warrior Ice Arena where the Bruins practice.
Oh
And
yeah, that's cool.
that was that facility was unbelievable. So we played Monday, I played Friday another scrimmage, and then I played Sunday, and then I played my regular pickup hockey this morning. So I've played 4 times in the last week, and
Wow.
I'm feeling my age right now.
You got to take a page out of Horford's book and rest in
Yeah, yeah.
rest a game or two. Well, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. That sounds like it was super fun. I love the
Oh,
picture that you
yeah,
sent over and the video that you sent over.
yeah.
That was awesome. All right, I got to run because Caitlin Clark is on Peacock tonight, so I'm
Oh,
watching Caitlin Clark play. I don't even know who they're playing. I think they're playing Nebraska or something, but it's going to be a good game. So if you have Peacock, throw it on. And we are back next Wednesday. We are. I think the whole gang's going to be here next Wednesday. Hopefully, knock on wood. We try to keep it on Wednesday, but you know
yep,
we've all got lives, so every once in a while we got to move it to Tuesday. So it's a special edition today
yeah.
of the show. But I appreciate you guys joining us. You can get everything at atbshow.com. Rubber Shoes is on the Instagrams and basically all of the socials all day, every day. So you can check him out, and he will give you updated information. Rant and wrap up. Is that still on all of the socials or just on Instagram these days?
Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Okay.
I had
So
I was putting it on TikTok, but something happened. It wasn't letting me post stuff, so I kind of went away from there. Maybe I'll get back on there.
I have a feeling our
And we
demographic
have
might not be on
going
TikTok.
on right now is the hat of the day is going
Hat
on.
of
So
the
you got it.
day. What is today's hat of the day? Is it the one you're wearing?
No, today's
Oh, go check it out then. It's a different hat.
yeah, yep. So
I have
I
one hat. My daughter
started.
gave me a hat for Christmas. That's the one
Oh
hat that I
wow.
have.
I started I think 6 or 7 days before Christmas because I had 6 or 7 Santa hats that I wore to
Oh, nice.
start
Nice.
it out, and then yep. So I'm almost a month into it.
You don't have to go searching for us. You can just go to atbshow.com and it's all right there. You can click on each link and see what we got going on. Rubber Shoes is our face on many of these
Yeah.
platforms and does an awesome job. So you definitely want to check it out, atbshow.com. And again, we will be back next week, next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Timmy, Rubber Shoes, Scotty, and myself will all be in the house to discuss more cold stove action with the Red Sox and hopefully lots of hot action going on with the Celtics and their streak continuing. So for Rubber Shoes in the LA studios,